Shadow Generations is a modern video game. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that Shadow Generations was a game that was released in 2024, which, in my mind at least, is the modern times. And it has extremely good graphics, it's very well put together, there's plenty of bombast to keep you distracted, there's lots of explosions and nice looking visuals and things like that. It's not a very glitchy game, it's very well put together, which I guess by modern video game standards is actually pretty great, all things considering. And most importantly, Shadow Generations is not super challenging, at least comparatively to Sonic Generations. You see, Sonic Generations was much faster and crazier, a lot more stuff was coming at you, and you needed to have some seriously quick reflexes if you wanted to actually succeed in the game and do well and get better times and such and such. Shadow Generations slows things down immensely and more or less just takes the Sonic Frontiers cyberspace levels and pretty much just fleshes them out into 5 to 7 minute stages on their own, which is an incredible feat in its own. These are some of the best designed Sonic levels, period, that we've seen in years from this franchise. It's incredible actually how smoothly everything runs together. It almost feels like half the time you aren't even really playing the game yourself, as there are just so many loop-de-loops, so many speed holes, so many speed hula hoops. There's so many things that'll take you from one thing to the next in each of these levels that you don't even have to really do anything half the time. All you have to do is just wait for the prompt to tell you to press the X button if you're an Xbox player, and the square button if you're a PlayStation player. Or if you're a Switch player as well, you know, whatever button that is, Y or something like that. It feels like each of Shadow Generations levels more or less just wants to keep things moving along. Like, they don't want you to stop for anything. Like, there will always be something to smash your way through. There will always be some obstacle in the level that will send you into the next area smoothly and swiftly. Like, there's no sense of having to get anywhere because these levels will just make sure that you're taken care of. It kind of feels like these levels are silver spooning you through it. Like, there's just no challenge here, period. Like, all I have to do is just wait for the next thing in front of me, whether it be an enemy, whether it be a speed hula hoop, whether it be a something, just anything that'll just send me along. Like, there's no challenge here. And I feel like that is one of the biggest detriments of Shadow Generations, is it's an extremely well put together experience, and it looks great and it feels good, but these glorified cyberspace levels are really nothing to sneeze at in the long term. I mean, cyberspace levels were never that interesting to begin with in Sonic Frontiers. I mean, the fact of the matter is you just move way too slow. And the thing is when you move this slow in a Sonic game, it becomes way too easy to forecast what's going to come next in this obstacle course that you're on. I mean, it's not really challenging. At least for me, it's not really all that challenging to my reflexes, to how quickly I can react to stuff coming at me, because you just move so slowly, comparatively. And whereas, in Sonic Generations, like, you were moving so fast, and you had to be so quick about every little meticulous thing that you did, and it was awesome, oh my god. But Shadow Generations wants to slow things down and to keep things safe and comfortable for the player. Shadow Generations does not want to create any controversy. It does not want to challenge you in any way, or perhaps frustrate you in any way. That's what I think Shadow Generations is afraid of doing. It's afraid of frustrating the player in any degree. So what it does is it creates just a perfectly well-crafted experience where everything flows nicely from one scene to a next, and you don't really have to do a whole lot besides press the right button at the right time that will just send you to the next area, because there's probably an eagle there to send you along, there's some sort of water path that you can grind on, there's a grind rail, there's an enemy, there's something that will just be there for you to either catch you from falling or will just keep you sending along the track. And as far as the complexity of these levels goes, they're not all that complex either. It's not that difficult to find a secret area. It's not that difficult to find the higher path because you just move so slowly. Alright, I'm gonna quit ragging on the levels for a minute here, and I want to focus on the story and the overworld, I guess. So the overworld of Shadow Generations is just a big, blank, wide open space because you're stuck in time, you know, from the continuation of the Generations storyline. And there's just a bunch of crap here for you, I guess. I mean, I guess there are secrets to find. I mean, they're basically all you can find in this game is artwork to add to your collage, to your art museum of, I guess, photos of stuff like, you know, behind the scenes work of Shadow the Hedgehog or previous games. And I mean, like this stuff can only be so interesting. I'm sorry, but if I wanted to see any of this stuff, I would look it up online. So there's really no incentive to find collectibles in this overworld. They're kind of just there to just waste 5 seconds of your time because they're not hard to find and it's not difficult to get any of them. And as far as the story goes, I mean, good lord, Shadow Generations is way too obsessed with nostalgia. Like, we've been here before. What is Shadow's origins? What is his past? I mean, there's an entire game that was crafted around this very story. Who is Shadow? Where does he come from? We've been there and we've done that with this kid already. I feel like Shadow's arced out at this point, has he not? And so we need to come up with a way to move forward with Shadow, not continually running in circles about where is his origins come from? What does Black Doom have to do in all this? What about Dr. Gerald Robotnik? And, oh yeah, I guess Dr. Gerald Robotnik sounds like Dr. Eggman from the previous games. I guess they didn't feel like getting a new voice actor for Gerald Robotnik. They just, you know, used Dr. Robotnik's, I guess, you know, that totally makes sense because they're related. But it just seems lazy. And as far as the voice acting goes, I mean, good God, can we please just, like, stick to one voice actor for one character for more than one video game at a time? I mean, how many different voice actresses have we gone through when it comes to Rouge the Bat? Like, holy shit. Like, I don't even really consider Rouge the Bat to be an actual character in universe. I mean, I can't even, like, bring myself to care about her when it seems like every game that she's involved in, she sounds different every time. Like, I wish that they would just pin down some nice voice actors for each character and stick with them, because it seems like with each new Sonic game, at least 3 or 4 of the characters suddenly just sound completely different. And it just feels like at this point, half the characters in this franchise are just talking heads. Like, Sonic and Tails and Shadow, like, those guys, they matter, but everyone else who just keeps changing up their voice from game to game, like, why even bother? Why have them around? They're just talking heads that just say their quips and just, you know, provide you with a tiny bit of nostalgia from the previous games, because we know how much this franchise loves to milk the nostalgia wave. I mean, the nostalgia cow is just, like, ripe with just nostalgia galore. Like, I can't even begin to tell you how sick I am of Sega and Sonic Team and this franchise just coasting off nostalgia. Like, we get it, Shadow the Hedgehog's past is a mystery, but we kind of already figured everything out in previous games and pieced things together. We don't need to rehash stuff just to, like, I don't even know, like, what is the point here? We're running in circles, and, you know, given what Sonic the Hedgehog's philosophy is on life, you don't want to run in circles, you want to move forward. And this is a super big deal, you guys, and I'm really pissed off about it, and I'm going to make a big deal of it online because it is a big deal. And I'm going to, you know, ruin everything for everything else because I just can't be pleased and I'm unhappy and all that stuff. And Shadow Generations is a modern video game. It's not going to challenge you. It's not going to really frustrate you. Like, these levels aren't like that, all that challenging. You're not going to learn anything new about Shadow. I mean, you're going to get some stuff with him and Maria, which I guess ties that up nicely. We never really got a tie-up on that, so I'll give this game that. But Shadow Generations is more or less just going to rehash old stuff, and it's going to do it with a nice 2024 coat of paint, you know, with 4K resolution and 120 FPS, all that good stuff. But at the end of the day, this game doesn't really have anything more to say other than, hey guys, remember Shadow the Hedgehog? Again, Shadow the Hedgehog is way too obsessed with nostalgia, and to their credit, they did a nicely well put together game that isn't super glitchy. And, you know, I guess if I had to say, it comes off more like a movie than anything else, because especially when it comes to these boss fights, you know, they'll have their moments, but then they will switch into a cutscene where you have to do a freaking quick time event with them. I don't know why we keep coming back to QuickTime events for games. I mean, just because Resident Evil 4 did it right that one time doesn't mean that it could potentially work in other games. I mean, it's just, you know, you're pressing a button during a scene in the middle of a fight when actually when you should just be staying in that fight. You shouldn't have any cutscenes because then it just breaks the immersion of the fight. If I'm fighting BioLizard and then halfway through the fight suddenly he just stops everything and does this 2-minute long epic cutscene where, you know, they take the time to show off the game's graphics and all that crap just for him to switch to a different form and then do a quick time event, suddenly I've been taken out, I've been ripped out of the middle of this battle and I'm forced to watch this movie. I don't want to watch a movie, I want to play a game. This is supposed to be a video game, not a movie. Like, modern video games really need to, like, blah, blah, blah. This isn't a movie, it's a game. So that's Shadow Generations, you guys. It's a good game. I mean, like, I'll probably come back to it every now and then when I feel like running through some glorified cyberspace, but other than that, I'm probably just going to go play Generations because that game is way faster, and plus now we have an updated version of it where there's, you know, the drop roll dash move and all that stuff, and so yeah, I'm probably just going to play that instead. I feel like Shadow Generations is just an inferior, dumbed down version of that game anyway, so yeah, whatever. Peanut butter.